I'm just gonna do my best to talk about my political views candidly for like 10 minutes. That's what YouTube wants, right? 10 minutes. Okay. So, starting in like kindergarten, that was the first political experience I had. They had us voting in kindergarten. They said, okay, the election's happening right now. How can we teach these kindergartners? Well, it was actually the whole school they had involved. Everyone could vote. And I remember that it was a pretty close vote, like some 500 to 500, and Obama won. That was a good thing. Like I was one of the people who voted for him. So I was happy. I didn't really know why, like I knew he was the first black president, but I also didn't know why that was true too. So like it was just Obama won, your guy won, everyone's cool, we're going home, we're all still happy, like we're kids. Then, jumping up a little bit to 6th grade, I had this social studies teacher who, he didn't want to talk about it, but he wanted us to not be talking about it either. So he said, a lot of stuff is going on with the, healthcare thing right now. Let's talk about it. Who here is for Obamacare? And a bunch of students raised their hand. Now, who here is for the Affordable Care Act? Now, a bunch more students raised their hand. They're the same thing. Everybody put their hands down. We're not going to talk about it any more than that. I thought that was hilarious, but I also was someone who raised their hand for both of them. So I was like, okay, I didn't know that they were the same thing. It made me realize how much I didn't know. So that was another moment where I just kind of got hit by it. Of course, there's other things I learned in between that. I heard about 9/11. I was actually born that week. But beyond that, I really didn't have an idea of anything going on, Like that opened my eyes to say, I don't know what the hell's happened in politics. So not to say I started watching a little more closely, but I was online and some of the stuff that I was getting exposed to was SJW whatever, and the other half of the stuff I was getting exposed to was conspiracy stuff. So yeah, I was like in both pipelines at the same time, just trying to see what was going on. Like growing up a little bit more than that, we get to the 2016 election. In between all of that, seeing some, I'm like, what can I say? I'm not going to talk about other people in this, but I am going to say in 2016, I saw a lot of students who were excited that Donald Trump was going to win. Now, I lived in an area that was wealthy and well off, and those people, I don't think they knew what was going on, because just like before, a lot of people couldn't talk about it at length. Keep in mind, like I said, I was in both pipelines watching this shit unfold. I'm like able to talk about that shit at length at that time. I didn't like that a celebrity was getting into politics. I actually thought it was going to open up the door for like Oprah to run next time for the Democrats. I didn't want nobody to use their fan base to try to get votes, because I thought that would offer them too much advantage over real policy. I really believed that shit, and no one could talk about it at length other than just being like, yeah, Donald Trump, my parents, yeah, they told me. Like, and granted, my parent actually had 2 knees replaced with Obamacare. Fucking listen to me, the Affordable Care Act. So like I had a reason to like Obama, but my real reason for not liking Trump had no relation to that. Of course, there was other influences. I grew up with a lot of different media, so I feel like those things had an impact on me that I couldn't even explain, so I just show them. And then beyond that, when I started working in a warehouse, I found out how this shit really happens to people. I worked with so many people who complained, like, this sucks, this is horrible, I could do better, I could work in some other place, but they never did. And I saw the same thing with my family members, this loop, this idea that, oh yeah, I could definitely get out of this, whatever, and then they get stuck in it because they never actually have the energy to go do those things. The job keep you tired, the job keep you worried about the job keep you there mentally, and then, guess what, you never get to break out of it. That's what they want. And I hate to say it like they, because I never blame my boss for that. My boss is just running a business. He's just doing his best to be profitable, but the people need to be profitable too. And that was something I learned working at a warehouse. One of the big things that they complained about was we worked at a small business. The dude wouldn't get enough people to offer healthcare. So all of these people who were working a physical labor job were not covered by the job. And then they weren't getting paid enough to go get their own coverage. So they were complaining on both scales, like, I'm not getting paid enough and I'm not covered. And then they were still staying there. And that's, like I just said, it's a loop. It's not even their fault. It didn't give them enough energy. Some days they'd be working there, they'd have to stay late because that's just how many jobs there are. You just got to do what you got to do. Like, and the one day, the boss actually said to me, I came in the next day after calling off sick, and he said, as an adult, some days you work sick. And I was like, I mean, that's, I didn't say anything to him at the time, but no, I don't think that we should have to work sick, because when you come in sick, guess what? You get the people next to you sick. This was around COVID. Like, we were 2 years out from COVID, but that's not really when COVID was gone, was it? So a little bit later, I quit that job. I actually gave him a month's notice because I still liked the guy, but I just couldn't stay somewhere like that. It felt like we were being manipulated. Beyond that, they also just had us doing things that, respectfully, I don't think I would do again. Like, the safety stuff was just not there for that. And they did, like, care, like, they wanted us to be safe, but the other half of it was like, we got to take these unnecessary risks because this is just the way to do the job. And like, where's the balance in that? You have people like making sure I wear the safety belt when I don't even want to wear it, and then people who will tell us to do something that I think is completely unsafe, but we got to do it because we got to get this money. The light. I'm not a professional YouTuber. That's my Xbox. If it gets inactive, I have to shake it. Sorry. In those pipelines, I saw how people were thinking, and I saw how like we got to where we are. Leading up to before Trump, we had the SJW era where people really thought like they're gonna come for your guns, they're gonna take your freedom of speech because no one can say anything anymore, everyone's offended, and now we're seeing all that same stuff from the right. I think the government is just one big theater, and they're all just doing the same stuff, pushing us towards authoritarianism. And then, unless the people make enough noise, no change happens. The corporations just keep paying all these people, and the horseshoe theory, like, both political sides have the same end game. Like, they were just going to take all of the rights that they could because that gives the people in power the most power. At the end of the day, they're all just trying to defend Israel. Like, that is, I'm sorry, I said it clearly. I think no matter what, if the people never spoke up, they were going to keep giving money to Israel and being complicit in the genocide. And that is where it all needs to tie back to now, because we have whatever on this side, whatever on that side, they'll both try to take your rights if they get power, unless the people hold the power, unless we hold them accountable. There was Free Palestine protests during Joe Biden. There was all this talk 20 years ago. This has been an ongoing conflict that is needed to stop because America funds it. You want to talk about what Hamas does? You want to talk about who's a terrorist? We actually fund one side. You understand that? We Americans, me and you, if you have paid a single dollar on something you bought, if you've bought something in America, even illegals pay taxes because they spend money here. You understand? Every single person on American soil has given money to genocide. That is what I have seen as an American, and I am disgusted by it. So you want to talk about supporting a terrorist, you want to talk about any of that stuff, you need to look right at the government and say, why are we supporting a place that has all of these accusations against it? You could say all this stuff about Hamas, but we don't really give them money, do we? People are trying to give them food right now, and Israel is trying to stop them. If Hamas is so evil, let that ship get there to find out. And that's what I'm saying. This stuff is common sense. I'm just telling you what I've seen as an American. I want it to be available on my profile so that someone doesn't just stumble on here and then not also have to see everything that I see. If I see it, you gotta see it. I'm sorry. Peace out. Love. Free Palestine and free everybody who needs to be free. I know that's not the only conflict right now. Love. It's just what they want because that's where the money is. Here, let me be clear about this. I don't want to say it like conspiracy like that. I've seen AI Palestine. I've seen a bunch of psych ops. I've seen so much shit going on around. Oh my God, bro. Let me not talk like that. Let me be more coherent. So right now, the U.S. is looking for illegal immigrants. Sorry, I said illegals earlier. That's a weird way to say it. So right now, the U.S. is looking through the container. That's like our example for the country. Everyone inside the strawberries are the people. So right now, our government is picking through the strawberries. They've opened up this container, our privacy, and they're saying, okay, hey, who doesn't belong? and they're putting their hands into people's lives and really trying to figure it out. Some of them they're even removing. Israel has a different approach. They said, okay, our neighboring country, different container, they got some bad people in them. Those people want us dead. As a collective punishment, instead of trying to pick through this entire nation and see who wants us dead or trying to deal with those people, they've just... I think you know the disrespect that I intended. So if your first, idea is to just destroy the entire country instead of, picking out the problems, maybe, just maybe, you're not the good guy. So let's let the world decide who the real bad guys are, please. Keep eyes on the flotilla. And I wouldn't waste food. What a gift. But yeah, these were just some experiences that shaped my politics.